So this is regarding the revision for our model exam 1. These are all the topics or syllabus. So WSDL, UDDA are all from Unit 3. Web Service Stack, that is from Unit 4. Service Oriented Analysis and Design along with the modeling. So those things will come under our Unit 5. So these are all the portions with respect to corresponding model exam 1. So in the, I think probably you'll be writing some more additional contents during our subsequent examinations also. Just I want to revise you these topics, right? I'm going to give you the complete overview. That will be helpful for you to remember the topics, right? Because you are getting a gap now and then due to training and other contents. Yes, this page will be helpful to understand and refresh the concepts of SOAP, WSDL, and UDDA. So, expansion of SOAP is nothing but simple object access protocol. What is the purpose of this? So, we are having two types of web services. First one is RESTful SOAP-based web services. Second one is RESTful web services. What is the difference between them? So RESTful web services is like a postcard. Front side I am having the destination address, source and destination address. Back side I am having the payload or the message. If I am coming for SOAP, it is like a post cover. My payload will be within the protected cover. Only my source and destination will be visible. Those people could not able to see what I am transmitting. Right? So that could be the difference between SOAP and RESTful web services. So SOAP is completely secured. If I want to work with the RESTful web services, my request will be done through a URL. So that is the main theme of RESTful web service, right? But here it's purely based upon SOAP request and response messages. I'm going to communicate both the way using XML. Okay, so that's the main idea here. But in a RESTful web service, I will use simply a URL as a request, response as a XML file. That's all. This is the main key difference between them. Since service-oriented environment is focusing more on security, they have taken SOAP as the communication protocol. Next, WSDL. What is the purpose of the WSDL? It is ready to represent the elements of complete communication happening between the service consumer and the service provider. Right? Service consumer and the service provider. So that could be the main idea. As well as from the service provider side, if they want to do, if they want to convey about the web services that what they are hosting in UDDA, that they have to give a clear picture about this web service through the WSDL representation only, right? That will help for the UDDA to understand. And next, UDDA. What is the purpose of UDDA? UDDA is like a directory. It is like a telephone directory. So it consists of set of web services and it will have some categorized set of web services, right? So if any consumer want to access a service means it will ask the corresponding UDDA. In turn, UDDA will supply this. Service provider will host all the available web services with the corresponding UDDA, right? So, but it assumes that when the service consumer is going to access the service provider, as the Kerberos service registry, nothing but my UDDA will help me to understand its communication, right? So this is the authenticated service provider. This is the authenticated service consumer. Both of you can communicate via SOAP, right? So likewise, it will take care of your authentication also. That is the main advantage. So What are all the activities that they will do here? So there are three types of activities are being focused: find, publish, bind. Okay, to search the available set of web services, find activity is used. So when service consumer want to find out the available web services, they will search in the UDDA only. How they will search? Using the find activity. Okay. Next, what's the purpose of publish? The service provider will host all the available web services in the UDDI. That can be done through the activity publish. Nothing but I am having this web service. Anyone could be able to use it by paying some reasonable amount, or by paying through some digital currency, or by paying or without maybe a free web service also, or one time free web service. Second time onwards you need to go for some pricing model. That's all. That those are all the things that could be done through the publishing activity. Next, bind. What is mean by bind activity? Bind activity is nothing but the connection establishment happening between service consumer and service provider, which in turn authenticated by my UDDI. Okay, authenticated by my service registry. It states that bind will give you a true value such that service consumer and service provider are authenticated by the known UDDI or known service registry. This is called the three main activities: find, publish, and bind are all the three activities focusing on this. So to construct a web service architecture, I need these three things: SOAP, WSDL, and UDDA. These are all the three components are necessary for me to carry out the complete task. Okay, so this is what we have learnt completely in our unit 3. We have seen very elaborately on SOAP. We have seen what are all the elements of WSDL. We have seen what are the three types of pages available in the UDDA in very detail, right? So that could be the revision for this topic. So WSDL, UDDL, right? So remember the acronym UDDA, Universal Description and Discovery Protocol, right? I think the rest of the two are very easy to come over it. The main idea behind WSDL is it is completely constructed using XML. Since SOAP is completely designed using XML, this is also being done through XML. So the XML will give the nature of platform independency for all the communications. That is the reason why this web service architecture is a success, had written a success story. Next, this is your WS stack. Okay, so here I have given you a detailed stack. Okay, so what are all the contents are available? You could able to see the normal application layer protocols are available at the bottom. Okay, HTTP, SMTP, TCP/IP, UDP. So TCP/IP for stream transfer, UDP for block transfer. SMTP will serve as a protocol for mailing inbox or mail server. Okay, so HTTP is used for request and response messages, which is happening between client server or peer-to-peer architectures. URI, unique resource identification, nothing but accessing a web service, right? These are all the functionalities of the these are all the functionalities of existing system, right? How this existing system communications are transformed into service oriented computing, transformed into service oriented architecture based elements. How we are going to do that, right? For that I have to redefine my XML for the applications that are I'm going to develop, as well as I'm going to launch through, as well as I'm going to communicate between them through XML. If it is in those case, what are all the technologies that I have to adapt in XML? So these are all the topics that we have come across in Unit 1, right? So preliminary, if you see in the right side of the XML box, you could able to see namespaces, information set, right? XML version, XPath and DOM, right? So namespaces is nothing but it consists of collection of programs. Okay, so information set is nothing but it consists of already XML is famous for metadata, right? It holds metadata. That's what information set. W3C XML 1.0 is the versioning as well as standard. DOM, document object modeling, right? What is the purpose of this? So to manipulate with the nodes of the corresponding elements, right? Nodes of the corresponding tree, because in XML every content will be represented as a tree only, right? So if I need to access the data means I have to visit to the child node of the corresponding tree so that I could able to get the data, right? So how I will access the sibling node, how I will access the parent node, how I will access the left child, how I will access the right child, all those things are managed by DOM, document object modeling. Okay, XPath will help me to reach the location, right? To reach the location, if I want to traverse from root node to child node in an XML document, XPath will help me to reach the corresponding location. It is like it will supply me the absolute path to reach the corresponding child node. It will help me, right? That is the purpose of XPath. And next, these are all the basic content that I could able to create, right? Or development tools from XML. Next, I am going to add security features for that, right? In the development itself. So how can I encompass security in the development environment itself? Using canonicalization, right? That's from XML signature. Using canonical XML. Nothing but tokens will be generated for that. Okay. Next, you could able to see they are using XML encryption standard, right? That is an encryption standard framed by W3C. If I'm going to communicate using XML, so what is the standard I have to follow? That will be fixed by W3C, right? So you could able to check with the RFCs for this W3C XML. As well as we are using XPath filter too, right? So what does it mean XPath filter too? So they will help us in identifying the location already. That is the purpose of the XPath. Filter 2 means, so it will help me to identify the any unnecessary elements are accessing the child node. So it will ready to filter it, right? The term 2 represents the version. Okay. So unnecessary elements could not be able to access the child node. So the signature and encryption will give me the process of security in the development level itself. What I will do simply I am going to include a tag, that's all in my program, not more than that. For XML signature, I will include a tag. For XML encryption standard, I am going to include a tag. I'm going to include those two tags while I'm going to develop my complete program. So ultimately, the program will support. So since while I'm going to parse my XML program using XML parser, by default it will happen. Right. So that is the major case here. Next, what are all the other things that are related to our stack? So using XML, we are going to develop. Now, second thing, what we are going to communicate between the services are SOAP, UDDA, or the service provider and the service consumer, how they are going to communicate, how that messages need to communicate it. For that we are having WS messaging, right? So ultimately I'm going to use my SOAP protocol. So the main thing here is nothing but WS addressing, like WS addressing, that will be helpful for me to identify the partner links available in my WSDL programs, right? Source partner link, destination partner link, both are ready to be identified using my messaging. Okay, so that will be helpful for me identifying the source and destination. That's called the term messaging. Okay. Next, if you come for the right side of the stack, you could able to see metadata. What is metadata? Data about data, especially in that The thing which is intersecting XML with metadata is schema, nothing but how a WSDL program must be. The structure of the document or the structure of the communication message happening, right? That will be supplied by the XML schema. This is the format of SOAP request message. This is the format of SOAP response message that can be given through this XML schema, right? So it is also one of the tool available in our XML. That's what they have mentioned here, right? And there is a guest stack in WS policy in metadata. That's called a WS policy. What is mean by policy here, right? So policy is nothing but that I could be able to create the protocol, how they need to communicate, how they need to exchange data, right? How they need to perform messaging, right? So everything can be done through this WS policy. Very specifically, I could able to embed my WS policy using the term WSP. Okay, I could able to encompass this WS policy in my program using these things. WS policy assertions, right? I could able to mention in the program itself policy attachment, right? As a normal attachment, I could able to done through this WS policy attachment, right? So policy attachment is nothing but whenever messages are going to be communicated, in what way the heterogeneous services need to communicate with this message. On that case, heterogeneous messages will open the SOAP request message. First, it will see the WS policy attachment. Okay, if we are going to communicate in this way, then only this web service will respond for us. So likewise, they will understand it and they will communicate it. It could be like a protocol sheet, how they want to communicate, right? So that could be about WS policy, right? And we will come for this security, then we will go for label messaging. So in the security, they have given two layers very specifically. One is OASIS WS security standard, nothing but this is already available for our purpose. Okay, available for our purpose, nothing but we want to say very clearly. So it's like a complete Kerberos server. Okay, so service consumer will go and introduce themselves and they have to get a public key, as well as they have to service provider also will go and sign up and need to get a public key. So when they want to communicate between them, the public key supplied with between them is being verified and they will go for message exchanges, right? That's what the ultimate thing. As well as their validity of communication will be given by X.509, the digital certificate. So using this X.509, they have 1 year validity. So within the time they could able to communicate. After that, they have to renew it by paying money. So that their services are being visible for outside world, right? So otherwise they will convey that this service is insecure. So when you are going to access, it is on your own risk you are accessing. If any type of data theft or any type of money laundering service is happening over there, the UDDI is not responsible for this, right? That's the case where security is being given over on that, right? SAML, right? So asynchronous markup language pertaining to security, that's also being available. That is a separate markup language being provided for security, completely developed in XML. Now only the usage of this SAML is increasing, right? Nothing but instead of using encryption standards and signatures within the program, I'm going to write the program in a security framework, right? Instead of writing a code to include the security framework, I'm going to write my program in the security framework itself, right? So that's what that role of SAML would be, right? So next one is secure conversation. That can be happened normally through OASIS itself. Trust, right? That can be managed through my Kerberos. Okay, trust. Next, federation, right? So what is this federation? So federation is nothing like a DB that will hold set of two lists, a blacklist and a whitelist. So blacklist means these are all the people still they have not renewed their ID. Whitelist is nothing but they have renewed it and they are the active people available in the environment to communicate, right? So they have a list of active service providers and service consumers, as well as they have the blacklisted service providers and service consumers. It can be held by WS Federation. Okay, now combining these security, metadata, messaging, and XML, the future is reliable messaging. Am I getting my communication from the proper consumer? Am I getting the advertisements from the proper service provider? That can be verified very easily. When we are going to incorporate this WSRM, WS reliable messaging, we are going to get the additional featured security for our SOAP request and response messages, right? Two level security will be there. Level 1 for my post cover, right? That cover, remember that cover. For the cover, I am having this Oasis security standard. If I am going to open my cover, there I will be having my XML signature and encryption standards are there. So two level security will be available for my WSRM, right? So my request and response messages will purely rely upon the format of WSRM. That could be the major case here, right? So we have seen about messaging as well as security encompassed messaging. Now, why they have to message? They have to find out whether services available or not. So where they will do that? They will do it through on the discovery framework, nothing but UDDI. So how they will communicate directly? WSRM will communicate with the WS discovery. WSRM have a parameter. For example, they are searching for weather services. So weather services will be the parameter. So UDDI, WS discovery will receive that. It will search for that and it will give back the result. Okay, so this is what you are looking for. So likewise, WS discovery will help them to filter the available services, registered authenticated services available in the UDDI or in the central registry. So it will search for them and it will list it out, right? So that's what my usage of discovery framework. Finally, if we come for the transactions framework, right? Transaction, how the transaction framework, especially it would be more useful when we are going to work with microservices, right? So how the applications are being accessed. So till now we have talked about completely on communication, right? Now we are going to talk about application. When a request message is going to come, how it need to communicate. When multiple number of request messages is going to come, how it need to communicate, right? If a single message is going to come, that is what atomic transaction. If multiple number of messages are going to come and access the service, that can be represented through business activity, right? So this could be the content available in my transactions framework, right? Till now, what we have seen completely available in the behind the screen section, right? Nothing but they are nothing but my the layer that are completely invisible to the user, invisible to the end user. Okay, so the layer which is visible for them is nothing but this BPEL 4WS version 4 web service execution language. My entire flow will be available on that. How the communications are need to happen, I could able to create as a complete design using my BPMN and a BPEL. I could able to execute it. By using BPMN, I will design the complete modeling. By BPEL, I will execute it. That is what we are seeing in Unit 5. So this is the way that complete service-oriented analysis will happen. What is the actual life cycle? Service-oriented analysis, service-oriented design, service development, service testing, service deployment, service administration. Right? Analysis is nothing but requirements gathering. Service-oriented design is nothing but I am going to do the prototyping for the corresponding service. Service development, I am going to implement it. Okay. Now I am going to test with the set of inputs, automated inputs. That's what my service testing. Service deployment, I'm going to upload that service in the UDDI. Service administration means I'm going to manage how that services are happening. Right? So very specifically, if you want to talk about the design, So I have to compose my SOA for that. So why I have to compose my SOA? Whether for this particular prototype is SOA is necessary or not. Otherwise, you should not include SOA. Once if it is available, I have to stick to the guidelines. I have to identify what are all the roles available. I have to identify what are all the processes available. That's what we will be following two different styles over there. Either we will follow entity centric or task centric. So by that we will follow, and it will take us to the service design process. There, ultimately, I will talk about any specific logic. Multiple number of services are there means, so multiple number of process logics will be designed over there. Okay, so completely it is being done through my business process design, right? So how can I do my business process design? Using BPMN, I could be able to model it. That's what. First, I will create lanes. How I will create lanes? How many number of users are going to be there, or how many number of actors are going to be involved? That many number of lanes I have to create. So I could be able to create a creamy layer lane. Then I could be able to penetrate and create multiple number of lanes depending upon my depth of the corresponding modeling, right? So as well as the reason to create multiple number of lanes are nothing but choreography and collaborative, right? Or collaborative choreography. So how the communication happening between lane to lane, that will be done through my collaborative design. What is mean by choreography? How I am arranging my communication within a lane, that is going to be understood by my choreography, right? So likewise, I could be able to perform business process design in a effective way. When I'm going for BPN, so I'm having the symbols are available for starting the event, normal circle. For intermediate event, circle, which will be again encircled with a dark circle. Okay, the event will be determined by a filled dark circle. So by that I could able to identify starting the event, closing the event, and identifying the intermediate event. Within a curved rectangle, I will convey my process logics, right? Curved rectangle, that could be the symbol. Next, I could able to identify like a thunder symbol, nothing but that it's going to give with a delayed response. Okay, if it is going to be action symbol means promised delivery will be there. That means communication will happen always. If it is going to be within a diamond with a plus means I am going to perform a condition, right? That condition will be verified and it will branch for yes or no, true or false, right? So I could able to connect with the same lane also. I could able to connect with a multiple number of conditions also, nested conditions also possible. So these are all the some simple notations being available in the BPMN, right? So this could be the complete revision of your three topics. If you have any clarifications, you can raise. Thank you.